Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's Tournament Game 7, where we are playing Helheim. This is turn 34. Let's jump into things. Okay, so we have completed Evocation 4, back to Blood Magic. We've cast a series of reanimations, a Revived King, a Seeking Arrow, which says that it found a suitable target. And we did some site searching. We found 3 magic sites in Polmania. Deep Crevasse, Earthblood Seepage, which is, awesome, and a Geyser. So we'll check those here in just a second. 5 Blood Hunters captured, 27 good slaves. Nice. That's pretty good. So Blood Slaves, getting 27 Blood Slaves on a turn, at this point I think it's not fantastic, but it's okay. We'll be able to ramp up a pretty decent economy, going for that, especially if we get a secondary site going and then a tertiary site going. But that's going to take a little bit of time to get to those points, so crossed. And then, hey, we've got a battle in Zimria, so our Seeking Arrow was successful. Very nice. Not only was our Seeking Arrow successful, but he did not put any PD. Had he put a single point of PD here, he would still have a commander, and his Oirapadas would have fought and likely killed some of my Herdmen, right? They probably wouldn't have killed too many of them because they wouldn't have been blessed or anything like that, but they probably would have killed a couple of Herdmen. And in my opinion, that would have been worth the gold. He repeatedly does not put 1 PD into the locations that he takes, and I think that's a mistake. But we were successful in destroying his sorceress and getting some Oirapadas off the table. Very nice. And then we have a series of unexpected events. We've got an unexpected event in the Ancient Woods. The fertility cult is taking root. This is unfortunate. We have been preaching there, but so far, no dice. We're going to have to probably do more. We've got unexpected event in Rame, where we've gotten some Earth Gems. This is really nice because this is probably going to allow us another additional turn, just on its own, another additional turn of doing Dwarven Hammers before we would run out. And then in Menace, unfortunate. A series of unfortunate events has redirected important trade routes to other lands. But this is actually up in Sarmatian territories. So I guess this is less important to me. And a worldwide event has occurred. Thaumaturgy rituals are cheaper. We're still working on Gifa. And we've got patrolling troops in Tiny Willow, killing off the unrest from our blood hunting. Very nice. Okay, what are we doing? Well, we had a good turn there, popping off those... Pop off those Oirapadas. Very nice. Let's check this real quick. These are the 3 that we got. We already had the Canyon of Wild Winds. So Polmania is now probably one of our, if not our best, gem income site. It's got a geyser, right? Water and fire. Fantastic. It's got a deep crevasse, earth gem, okay. And then it's got Earthblood Seepage, which is 2 earth. So in that turn, we just gained 5 gem income. And this province is 7 income. This province is more than our capital, I believe. Yeah, our capital is 5, 6, yeah. So that's pretty good. Pretty solid. We're moving Svart 1 and Jade Sork 1 over to Osens. We're moving Jarl 14 and 5. Well, we're moving one of them up to Brightgate to be able to reinforce, and we're moving the other to continue site searching, because we need to get all of our lands site searched for Air 2 and Blood 1. So that's important. And other than that, this is probably going to be a pretty quick turn because we don't have a whole lot going on. We'll talk about hypotheticals, though. We are moving most of our forces into an array within either Brightgate or Zimria, right? We're moving forces from Jarl 13, all these Oirapadas, over into Zimria. We're moving Bernard over into Zimria, and then basically everyone that can pull into Brightgate, we're pulling into Brightgate. We are probably going to be launching an attack on Saramatia sooner rather than later. And that attack is going to be... it's going to be not led, but it's going to be supported by Loki. So Loki is heading into Brightgate right now, and Loki is going to probably be casting Fires from Afar twice on the province, right? So this has an opportunity to kill Inaris outright. So that Inaris are the problem now, right? It's how many Inaris does he have? His gods, right, are also problems, and the Flames from Afar can potentially kill them, I believe. So that is kind of the main goal. We're gonna pop Loki over to Brightgate. We're gonna toss a couple of Fires from Afar at Saramatia, and then we're gonna march an army there, reinforcing it with Gerskogel and Thunderstrike spam. And hopefully that's going to be the end of Saramatia. So we've done what we can as far as like the raiding concept, right? We've raided them down to the point to where they have nothing left. And they've been this way for several turns, kind of starving them of cash. So the concept being that if you take a look at Helheim, for instance, Helheim has an income of 414, right? If Saramatia is doing better than that, let's say they're doing, because our scales are pretty good. We have Order 3, Sloth 2, Cold 3, so maybe not that great. But we know they have Cold 3, we know they have Sloth 3, right? We know they have Misfortune 3. So it's possible that they are doing worse, maybe a little better, who knows? Probably worse. But even if we give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they have 415, right? That is not very much income. I would assume that they are at their upkeep cap, and they are probably incapable of really recruiting more people without losing people. So what we want to do is we want to toss a couple fires from afar, see if we can get lucky and snipe some Inaris or things like that. This is where it would be great if we had our god. Right, if our god was here, that would be great. Or if we had lucked out and we got some air 3s for our Hangas, that would also be good. Because then we'd be able to also toss them into Brightgate and do things like Seeking Arrows or double up on Fires from Afar in a single turn, that type of thing. Regardless, though, we're going to start pestering him with magic. And then we're going to pull the trigger and head into Saramatia. And we're probably going to do it with most of what we have here, right? We've got 240 undead. We're probably going to bring in another 80 before this is all said and done with King 5. So that'll be 320 long dead, right? Is that right? Math? Is that bad math? That's probably bad math. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's right. But that's probably going to be 3 or 4 turns away. We are heading up Blood Magic now. And it says we're going to 5, right? Or that's what I have queued up. But we're not really going for anything specifically in 5, right? 3 doesn't really get us much of anything. We can use Bind Devils, but it's kind of whatever. We can use Infernal Circle for specific things later on. We can use Blood Feast to cure afflictions. Great, fantastic. Serpent Fiends are okay. Storm Demons are actually really good. I would love to use some of them, but that will require setup and like the creation of like a Storm Demon factory, and that's something that we can do better later, right? The rest of these are just not really something that I'm going to use more often than not. Level 5 does get us some interesting things potentially, but again, not really a crazy amount, right? it's just 5 is like a launching stage, right? 5 hitting level 5 in a research category is like, okay, you've done the low shit. Now, if you want to go for high shit, you can. And the high shit that we would really aim for is at 7, and that's Bind Archdevil, right? And we might just go straight up to 7. If we have the opportunity, if we have the time, we might just go all the way up straight to Blood 7, start binding Archdevils, and go from there. Now, opportunities for something like Curse of Blood would also be good. We could turn a... our god can do Curse of Blood relatively easily, if I'm remembering correctly. I think. Or is Death the thing that we, like, skipped out on? I think Death is actually the thing we skipped out on, so Curse of Blood might be difficult for our god. But it's not super difficult for us to do, period. It's as simple as taking something like one of our Death 4 Hangadrots and just empowering them in Blood once and then giving them some blood boosters, and then boom, they can start doing Curse of Blood. So, regardless of what we decide to do when we get there, level 7 is kind of that sweet spot for us, right? Level 6 is an opportunity for Ice Devils, potentially, if we get lucky, and we do something like, well, one, we can do it with our god, right? Again, and the only reason I keep mentioning our god is because we're getting close to that point, right? It's almost the end of year 2, which means that it's very close to God's Awakening, or Pretender Gods, Imprisoned Gods breaking free. So we're probably going to have access to our gods soon. So Ice Devils and Archdevils, right, are kind of that scenario that we're aiming towards. Okay. What else are we doing? Well, we are sending quite a few hearse and hell-hurting parties up towards Gifa. We're reinforcing with 2 this turn. And then we're putting another 1, 2, 3 into high peaks to be able to reinforce the next turn. Because we want to go ahead and get Gifa down when we can. We might have to pause on those again, because when we push at Saramesha, we're going to want to push with just about everything. So that's going to be that. I think that's pretty much it. We are reanimating now with an Amulet of the Dead and a bunch of non-amulets of the dead. We're forging another Dwarven Hammer with a Dwarven Hammer. We're forging Owl Quills with a Dwarven Hammer. We are forging Frostbrands with a Dwarven Hammer. So Frostbrand production has begun. This will be great. Putting Frostbrands on our Jarls really, really increases their threat capabilities, honestly. So, pretty excited about that. Oh, we are sending... What is this? Ah, we did not send him. So, Hearst 34 is probably going to be the last heading into Kalem's territories. So, we will have 3 Hearst Hellherding raiding parties in Kalem lands ready to attack. So that'll be good. And yeah, we should probably talk about what's happening on a global scale. So I'm not counting Saramesha out yet in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It's very possible. Like one of the things that they can still do to screw us over is catching me en route. Like had they moved into Ard this turn, they would have caught all of this and killed it, and that would have been bad. Wouldn't have been horrendous, but it would have been bad, right? But catching me en route, will put a very big hurt on me. And then another thing they could probably do is they might be able to, like, rigor mortis me or something like that, and beat me with more undead. They might be able to just out-sustain me with Horde of Skeletons communions, And another thing that they might be able to do is route me with something like foul vapors, killing off a bunch of my Herdmen. You know, so there are a lot of options here that are somewhat potentially big issues. So we're gonna have to figure out what some of our plans for that are. But I think we're in a decent spot. I think over the course of the next few turns, we soften them up with Loki, send a really big stack at them, and then come in with Garskogel doing Storm and just Thunderstrike the shit out of them, and hope that the fact that we will probably outnumber them 5-1 at that point. Granted, it's going to be mostly skeletons that are outnumbering them. So, but again, I think a lot of what their focus is going to be is horde of skeletons as well. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm relatively hopeful, but I'm not counting them out yet. So, aside from them, we've got a growing world stage where Kalem and Tirnanog are becoming more problematic. Tirnanog is involved in a bunch of different wars, and we're friendly with Tirnanog currently, so that's good, but Tirnanog is involved with a bunch of little wars that they are slicing bits and pieces of from people on. They're involved with Sarmatia, right? They're involved with Hinam. They're looking at Kalem now. So that's concerning, right? They obviously understand what they're doing, and that's a problem. Kalem is, of course, a big problem because they have swallowed Agartha, and now they're turning on Marverni and killing them quite quickly. Fomoriya has reached out to me, talking about what is going on, Kalem, Tirnanog, who's a bigger threat, etc. And I think right now it is probably more important to stifle Kalem than it is to worry about Tirnanog. Tirnanog is growing, but they haven't taken capitals, right? Whereas Kalem's working on their second cap. And just at this point in the game, I think explosive, like a 3-territory Kalem is more scary, more worrisome than a 2-ish territory Tirnanog, right? Regardless, though, I think we focus on Kalem and then swap over to whoever is the biggest threat at that point. So I think Fomoriya is considering moving on Kalem in the near future. We plan to raid them down while Tirnanog also raids them down, so we're going to be looking for that opportunity. And then, if we do finish Sarmatia, a very big part of what's going to happen next is what happens next, right? Are we going to... Because we're probably not going to get much out of brawling with Kalem, so we're probably going to have to either turn on Hinam, right, who we do not have a non-aggression pact with, or we're going to need to turn on Kalem, who we do have a non-aggression pact with. We could turn on Fomoriya, but I think that is probably going to be a bad idea, at least for now. It depends. If Fomoriya moves on Kalem and then their heartland is exposed, then we could potentially head that direction. We are not in a powerful position. Our research is okay now. It's not great, but it's okay. But it's definitely behind. Our blood economy is not where I would want it to be yet, but it is at the scenario where we can ramp it up, and that's good. And our territorial expansion, and thus our economic and infrastructure, is not where I would want it to be. And that's because we failed the elfing on Sarmatia. Now I think we're set up to win against Sarmatia in the long run, but we should have won 10 turns ago. Sarmatia should have been the first person out of the game, and that should have been 10 turns ago. But I fucked up, and that's okay. It happens. But now we've got to figure out how do we stay relevant in this game, because we are behind research-wise. We are behind where we need to be, not necessarily behind for compared to everyone, but we are behind where we need to be from a territorial standpoint. And our late game options aren't exactly as great as some of the other late game options here, right? Like Marverni late game is super scary. Femoria late game, very scary. We've seen Hinam's late game in other games, right? Frickin' frack. Tirnanog also can be pretty terrifying as well. We do have that kind of like blood avenue that I think we are going to be focusing on, and I'm not sure, especially if Hinam gets knocked out, I don't know that we are going to have as much trouble. Abyssia has a fair little blood warlock, right? So they can definitely get involved in things. But with Hinam out, if we are able to focus running up blood, if we can get there first, the problem is it's unlikely that we get there first. I don't know. It kind of depends. Anyways, that's it for the turn. I'm just grunting and groaning about hypotheticals. We're moving a whole lot. We'll hopefully have closure on Saramation in the near future, and then we got to figure out what we're gonna do next. So I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.